It's too fast. I like from the just watching. I see it now, so it's just slowly. I hope this is. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. It's good when you gave me the bees. It's so fragrant. Very, very beautiful, mashallah. Oh, Eric, how are we? We should be close now, right?
We're close. We're what? 8 weeks?
Yep.
About?
Allahu Akbar. This is where all of the waiting takes place. I was in England once, and the guy told me, "Oh, this is the easy part. My wife's done it 3 times, and I didn't feel a thing." Allahu Akbar. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا فمن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ثم ما بعد. السلام عليكم. Again, always an honor and a privilege, man, to be in this space. You know, it's so different than the space we have on Tuesday night because there's so many people there. And you know, I'm really saying all of the same things, but I don't know. I think people enjoy Tatlif. That's one thing, mashallah, is very humbling because I realize it isn't me. You know, if it was me, they would come both days. I think Tatlif does a great job of providing a great space, but this is a space that I really treasure and I really value as well. We're still going over the Asma wa Sifat, the names and attributes of God. And I'm using as a guide the book that Yusuf and Sophia gave me. And we've come to a really beautiful name of God, Al-Quddus. Right? Al-Quddus, it literally means the holy, the pure, Quds. Sometimes you hear Jerusalem referred to as Al-Quds. MashaAllah. Sania just visited Al-Quds, Jerusalem. God's name Al-Quddus means the holy or the pure. And there's, much that has already been said about this name. But this is one of those names that is supposed to stretch the imagination to its limits. And then you recognize the mind is not capable of fully encompassing God. Right? This is one of those names that forces you to recognize whatever you think God is more than that. Right? So that we accept the descriptions God has given about who he is in the Quran, those names, those attributes, but we do not think of them as exhaustive. We do not think of them as, okay, this has summed up the definition of God. For God says, if all of the seas were ink and all of the trees were pens, that would be exhausted before the words of my Lord. Right? Before the words of my Lord were exhausted, you would, now think about that. That's quite an analogy. If all of the seas were ink, if all of the trees were pens, you still would not exhaust what God is, because God is more. Even when we describe God as he, we do not mean that God has male reproductive organs or male genitalia or a male personality. God is beyond gender. God is beyond physicality. This is just what we call literary expediency, meaning this is how we have to just, because it is, I was explaining to one person thinking about Islam. In Arabic, every object is huwa or hiya. It's he. Even when we would translate like this chair, I would say, Ana ajlisu alayhi. I'm sitting on it. But in Arabic, that he would be masculine or feminine. Kursi or maq'ad, the words for chair, are both masculine. So I would use a masculine attached personal pronoun. There is no it in the Arabic language. And even in English, we do not use it to refer to things that have a personality. We use it to refer to animals, right? If a mouse comes in, oh, it's in here. And even if someone has given the mouse a name, they will say, he's in here. If you know the mouse to be male, know the mouse to be female, she's in here, whatever. So it would be undignified to refer to God as it. But this does not mean that God is male. God is beyond that. We don't engage arguments about whether God is black or God is white. God is beyond that. Right? So Al-Quddus refers to the holy, the pure. And, because this is one of those concepts that human beings have very little access to, it's a very difficult name to explain, right? But let's try. One of my friends was talking about the marriage of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Aisha, radiallahu anha, and because of her young age, this is something modern Muslims get very uncomfortable discussing. It produces some discomfiture, right? Thinking about that. And a friend of mine said, well, you have to understand, many American Muslims have never even experienced a saint or somebody that they thought was completely pure in their motives, someone that they thought was pure in her intentions, a person that they thought was above anything morally questionable or corrupt. So that if you saw something that you didn't understand from them, you would give them the benefit of the doubt. He said, how then can they understand the moral perfection of a prophet? If you've never seen a person that you think, no, I wouldn't attribute anything low, anything morally questionable, I wouldn't attribute that to them. How then would you understand a prophet? So that if you're reading something about the life of the Prophet Muhammad, if you understood his reality, you would never attribute anything low to him. Like, no, he's above that. You don't even have to worry about that. That's a kind of qadasa. He's the holy prophet of Islam. Meaning like he's above. No, are you thinking there's some kind of astaghfirullah? He's above that. This name Al-Quddus is a similar reality, but with reference to God. If one of us would think, for instance, how could God place somebody in hell forever, even though maybe this person, and we're thinking about God punishing someone unjustly. He's Al-Quddus, that could never happen. That's what Al-Quddus means. Like, if you're thinking that Allah could punish someone unjustly, that could never happen because he's God. He doesn't do that, right? He's holy. I'm talking to Rana, I'm not talking to Rana, but he's like, that's the Qadar says like God is beyond that, right? So anyone who's punished by Allah will be deserving of their punishment. God says in the Quran over and over again, he does not oppress even a khatila, even the A fatila is like the little, when you eat dates, we're all about to start eating dates in about 10 days. And you take out the pit, and that little strip of something that's in the middle of the pit, that's the fatila, right? That Allah does not oppress anything, even the amount of a fatila. Nothing, meaning if it were to be placed on a scale. That's the meaning of that metaphor in the Quran. That whatever the weight of this thing that's in the strip of the date that you put weighs nothing. That people will not even be oppressed that amount. Nobody is going to be wronged, even that amount on the scale. No oppression, no miscarriages of justice doesn't happen. If somebody is thinking, if God is so good, why is there injustice in the world? Why is there suffering in the world? Why is there hunger and starvation in the world? Why is there disease and pestilence in the world? This is where the name Al-Quddus, God is above that. Right? This should suggest to you something is wrong in the way that I've understood this. Because God is, if I'm thinking that in the same way a human being can be oppressive, God could be. In the same way a human being can commit injustice, God can too. In the same way a human being can be cruel, God can as well. He's Al-Quddus. God is above that. Get that out of your mind. This is what Al-Quddus means. And it's mentioned, that is the reason that God mentions Al-Quddus in the Quran 2 times, and it's always mentioned after Malik, king. Al-Malik al-Quddus. Why? Because when you think of a king, you think of somebody with absolute authority, but then you believe what? He could behave wickedly with his authority, right? Even now, it's common to hear, African Americans that are trying to reconnect with our cultural heritage, referring to each other as kings and queens. What's up, king? And I appreciate that. But the vast majority of the world's kings have been oppressors. That's nothing that anybody, if you're talking about just, I guess the person's inherent status, that you're like a king among, okay, maybe it's some kind of compliment. But the vast majority of the world's kings have been oppressive rulers, right? That's, having absolute power does not mean that you will behave justly. In fact, the history of the world indicates that having absolute power probably means that you will behave unjustly, right? One artist, everybody's talking about king this, king that. Most young kings had their heads cut off. That's, king, right? So Allah says, Malik al-Quddus. God is a king. God is above. To God belongs the command in the same way that a king has the command. But he's Al-Malik al-Quddus. He's a pure and holy king. He is not a king that wills injustice. He is not a king that wills cruelty. He is not a king that punishes arbitrarily. He does not do that. He does not do that. And I think that this name, every doubt that we've had about God, and many of us know, we've harbored certain doubt. Why does this happen? How is this gonna work? What about these people? What about that? Punishment forever. All of those doubts, the name Al-Quddus is supposed to remind you. The way that God is just and loving, merciful and fair, some of this might transcend, some of this might exceed your ability to comprehend. Beyond that, how does all of that go together? You might not be able to grasp how all of that goes together, right? You might not, it's like, wait, so God is completely fair, but some people can be punished forever. Wait. You might not be able to understand how all of that is just. Just be assured in your faith that God is just. Just be assured in your faith that God is holy. And this is, I find for all practical intents and purposes, when trying to, who are these kids? They just came, Dad, snooze to me. No, I'm just kidding. No, when one thinks about trying to explain our faith in language, and language is a naturally limiting technology, right? In fact, the philosopher Wittgenstein, he said, the limits of my language are the limits of my reality, which is, I don't know if we exactly believe that, right? Because I might feel things and I can't, it's a reality, but my ability to express it to you is limited by my language. If you say like, what are you feeling? I can only convey my feeling to the extent that my language, is faithful to my feeling. But that might not be all of it, right? Language, it naturally, it provides, it imposes limits and restrictions, which is for us, not taking a swipe at Christians, but this is one of the reasons why Trinity and a belief in a human God is such a blasphemy for Muslims. Because to do that, you have to limit God. You have to actually place God in the context of time and space. That when God comes into time and space, this is how he looks. This is what he is. This, and could you imagine that? For a Muslim, this should be a deep violation of our sense of what qadah, of what holiness and the purity that we associate with God, so that God has a certain length at which his hair stops. Strange. That's to us like there's something that God likes to wear, something he doesn't like to wear. There's something that God likes to eat, something he doesn't like to eat. There's a way that God goes to the bathroom. That's why it's mentioned in the Quran, all of the messengers walked through the streets and ate food. Right? Mentioning that these are not things that we associate with God. God is above that. Because to associate those things with God would be to limit God. Meaning like, if you say what he is, limiting him in that way, then you're positively saying what he isn't. That God is not that. If God is white, he's not black. If God is male, he's not female. If God is middle height, he's not tall. He's not short. God has big feet, he doesn't have small feet. If God is in Jerusalem, he's not in China. You see what I'm saying? If you say, well, God is here, then he wasn't there. Right? All of this for us is a deep violation of that aboveness that we associate with God. We worship a God of what is called in English alterity, complete otherness. God is greater. And this is why, as we're lining up for the prayer, in every movement of the prayer, with the exception of coming up from bowing, we're saying what? Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. God is greater. Greater than what? Anything I can imagine. Anything I can imagine. God is beyond the limits of my imagination, beyond the limits of even my language. So as we are attempting to explain certain theological realities to people, we have names like Al-Quddus that remind us, some of this might be difficult to reduce into clean language. If I say, God is infinitely merciful and infinitely just at the same time. And for a human being, you would think, wait, infinite justice must negate infinite mercy. Because if you're infinitely just, how can you be infinitely merciful at the same time? God is above your conceptions of justice and mercy, right? But you understand, ala qadri aqli, you understand as much as you can understand. Even when we're reading the Quran, you understand as much as you can understand, right? The verse that they mention in connection with this, and it's one of those verses that you just like, subhanallah, laysa kamithlihi shay. There's nothing like God. But he's seeing and hearing. He's hearing and seeing. Now, you understand what it is. All of us are sighted and all of us can hear. So you understand something who is Sami'un Basir. But he tells you first, there's nothing like unto God. Who is Sami'un Basir, but he's hearing and he's seeing. Wait. That's supposed to give you pause. See, we have to learn how to read the Quran with a sense of wonder. You're supposed to say, there's nothing like unto him, but I understand what it means to be seen and hear. I understand what that means because I can hear and I can see. You're being assured that what? But it's nothing like God. You should take that and everything that you've learned about God, see it through that same prism so that you know what it means to be merciful. Well, they said commit to his shade, but not like that. You know what it means to be just, but not like that. You know what it means to see, but not like that. You know what it means to hear, but not like that. You know what it means to love. He is Al-Wadud, but not like that. You know, what you have is kind of a shadow understanding, a metaphorical understanding of something that is completely beyond comprehension. And Al-Quddus is one of those names that reminds us of that this thing is entirely deeper than we can fathom, than we can hold with our very limited understandings of things. Questions, comments, ideas, feedback. I see you're thinking about something. I stopped for you.
Mercy. You see it all the time. I don't know how to do brother. In the county, right? Well, service, what you say? You don't want to do it. Yes. You go to see his purpose.
It's interesting because maybe I'm about to open a can of worms here, but I don't mind. Justice is a desirable social condition, right? Justice. But mercy is an even more desirable social condition. However, to ask for social mercy doesn't, somehow it doesn't mean anything to us, right? We tend to emphasize justice. When it comes to our relationship with Allah, I don't know about you, but speaking for myself, the last thing I want is justice. No justice. All mercy. I can't anticipate going before my Lord and just being requited with what I deserve. This is what you deserve. Oh no, please don't give me what I deserve. Please don't give me what I deserve. Just give me what is an extension of your mercy, Ya Rabbal Alamin. Don't give me what I deserve. I don't think any wise person says in my relationship with God, I want what I deserve. No, 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 no. In fact, in my relationship with most people, I don't want what I deserve. I want mercy. You know, when God describes marriage, he says what? وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And God placed between your hearts love and mercy. He didn't say مَوَدَّةً وَعَدْلٍ. Love and justice. Can you imagine a husband and wife and what they had between them was justice? This is mine, this is yours, this is fair, this is unfair, this is what I'm due, this is what you would do, this is what you're supposed to do, what I'm supposed to do. They wouldn't get anywhere. They wouldn't get anywhere. It's that mercy that I'm willing to lean places I know I don't have to go. I don't have to do this. That's the mercy. She knows she doesn't have to do this, but she's willing to lean there. That's the mercy. If it was just justice, it would be a 1-for-1. It's kind of like, same time, I don't know you. And at the same time, we would be keeping score. Wait, hold on. What did you pay in rent? Okay, that'll get you 2 kisses and maybe something else later. I don't know. Nobody does that. No, it's not justice. It's not it's mercy. It's mercy. So I think that in our, all of our conceptions are limited. The verse in the Quran that is perhaps the hardest verse for moderns is وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. That of knowledge, you have only been given a small amount. Meaning, the sum total of what we as a species know is only a small amount of what can be known. Our understanding of what's happening, our understanding of where we are, where we came from, and where we're going, it's like, you don't know anything. And what shocks me is that even for a scientific people, we are a scientific people in this age. And our knowledge keeps growing and growing. And it's like Einstein's theory of relativity destroyed Newtonian physics. That should suggest to you, hey man, the further you go up, the greater your sense of reality. I mean, okay, so now you have the theory of relativity. There is a way of understanding reality that will make that look primitive. And you keep going up and you keep going up. And this is how people that use knowledge for humility, not knowledge for arrogance, that everything I know only reveals to me something that I didn't know. Right? And that you would think, wow, and I thought I knew something then. But do you think you know something now? that's the I thought I knew something then. No. But do you think you know something now? The olives, they say, العلم بالمعدوم ليس العلم بالعدم. Oh no, العلم بالعدم ليس العلم بالمعدوم. Knowing that you don't know something is not knowledge of what you don't know. Knowing that, it's very hard to, it's hard, we don't really know anything about that. That doesn't mean that it's over because you don't know anything about it. That's where faith enters. I was telling people, a few months ago, I was really getting into the natural sciences. And the most honest scientists were like, look, we're agnostic, atheists, but the truth of the matter is that nobody knows of a surety how the planet came into existence, how we came into existence. We don't know. We don't know. I mean, it's like we weren't there. So we don't, this is a question that lies beyond the capacity of science. I mean, we can't really, we don't know, right? Our being scientists informs our atheism or agnosticism because we don't believe that we can subscribe to something that we don't know. I mean, if I don't know, I can't say there is a God. I don't know. That's where they are. But just because you know that you don't know, that doesn't mean that you know about what you don't know. And if you're saying there isn't a God, then you're saying, yeah, I'm going to tell you about what I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened, but that's not real. Everybody who talks about the origins of creation is speaking from a faith perspective. Nobody knows. We believe what God said in the Quran, what he said in his scriptures, what he said through his messengers. And you believe something that, you've been led to as a conclusion, but we both believe. Because nobody has if we had certain knowledge, the case would be closed. It wouldn't be an issue of belief if we had certain knowledge. Do you believe you're in Chicago right now? Or do you know you're in Chicago right now? I'm asking you. How you know? No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, you know. You don't have to believe. No, I believe I'm in Chicago right now. I mean, I know with as much certainty as I can know with that I'm at the Downtown Islamic Center on State Adams right now. Nobody can speak about the origin of creation in that way. I say, I know what God said is true. Okay, so I have some certainty, but not the same experiential certainty. You don't have that. It's what you believe. It's what it's where your heart is content. And I think that Al-Quddus is the name of Allah that reminds you, and there's a lot more to be known than what you know. God is above what you're able to grasp, what you're able to comprehend. Which, by the way, speaking about the concept of Trinity, yes, it is a Najashi, I need you to be quiet, son. Yes, it is it does represent a violation of a Muslim's belief in an unlimited God. However, it is not untrue because it cannot be comprehended. Something can be true and be incomprehensible. I believe that. Some people don't believe that. But I think something could be true and me just not understand. The issue that I take with Trinity is that I don't think it's historically, I don't think it stands the weight of historical examination as what Christ actually taught. That's my thing. And it's not consistent with the teachings of all of the prophets of God. All of the prophets of the scripture taught an uncompromising monotheism. And then you would have someone that would come and say, no, none of that's true, but actually this is the case. I don't believe that. But it's not because something isn't true. God could be beyond my ability to comprehend. I accept that, actually. Right? The nature of God is beyond my nature, is beyond my ability to comprehend. I accept that. Right? Questions, ideas? Could be about this, could be about anything else. Yes, sir. No, I'm saying it, we do know, but we know through faith and not direct observation. You weren't there. I mean, one of the things that, subhanAllah, gives me some consolation when thinking about death is, I wasn't conscious or present for my creation. Meaning, I don't know how I got here. So it's like, it's not like death represents a relinquishing of control where you had it before. It wasn't like I was sitting somewhere and said, Okay, June 30th, 1982. Time to get this thing started. Okay, guys, I'll see you later. I'll stay by you. June 30th, 1982. It's time for me to make my move, guys. And then death represents this mystery. You know, that was also a mystery. How I went from the Barzakh to earth is in the knowledge of Allah. You weren't even conscious of it. You weren't even, and we're talking about you, yourself, that inward reality beyond the physical shell, beneath the physical shell, no awareness. All you know is here you are. And I think that death only represents another transition. Whatever that transition was from the barzakh to life, death represents a transition from life to akhirah. And it's the same. Just like you didn't have any say-so in this one, you ain't gonna have no say-so in this one either. Just like that. Where you came from, you don't know. I don't know. I wasn't conscious of that reality. I wasn't like, oh man, what day is it today? I think I'm ready to come into the world. All right, man. See y'all later. Allah brought me into the world. Allah will bring me into my death in the same way. Huh? But I'm supposed to be answering my son's question. He not even listening to me no more. Such is parenting, right? Like other questions, ideas, anything online? Could be about this, could be about anything else. MashaAllah, Sania. Yeah.
So first of all, I've heard some Muslims say that if they're, for example, they're outside when they're in gym or they're just something or they're just doing something, sure, they said they can do something, they're still within the certain amount of time. That they can combine what they're doing. You can wait their prayers.
Well, look, let's try to break this down, try to explain this, right? So, being in the state of a traveler is really about uncertainty. That's what travel, when all of the different madhahib, all of the different legal schools of Islam, they give different mile markers for when travel begins, because it's really not something clearly defined in the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad. If we're being honest, the Prophet didn't say this amount. He didn't say this amount. People are trying to understand how far does one need to be from home to be considered a traveler. Some people say 38 miles. And if you say 64 miles, right? 48 miles. 48 miles. Some people say 64 miles. Some people, they're trying to understand. But what's important for your question? What are they trying to what are they trying to understand about being a traveler? What are they trying to understand about it? They're trying to understand at what point does your routine become interrupted in a way that you would need to join your prayers or shorten them because you are unaware of what normalcy is where you're going. So like imagine this. If I'm in Chicago and this is where I live, right? I should be able to organize my day around my prayer. I know how long I'm gonna be in traffic. I know when I'm probably gonna eat. I know what time to pray at DIC. I know how long it takes me to get from DIC to my house. I can be counted upon to make my prayers with a pretty good sense of what's happening and when it's going to happen. If I'm in South Dakota and I'm at a rest stop, even if I have GPS now and all of that stuff, I really don't have any sense of when I'm gonna see another rest stop. If I'm going to see another rest stop, I don't know if where I'm going, I might see something that's hostile to Muslims. But I've traveled cross country, and it's time to pray, seen a lot of young white men with shaved heads and thought, we'll pray at the next place. Instead of, you just don't know. I can't see that. Oh, mashallah, you're doing every right. Mashallah. Alhamdulillah. I don't. So the idea is traveling exposes a person to uncertainty. Some people argue if this is really the illah, if this is really the basis of that ruling, if a person is in any situation that their schedule is unclear, right, they would be able to benefit from the provision of the traveler. Some people, that's I don't know if I'm exactly comfortable with that, right? But that's the basis of the rule. That if I'm in a situation and it's just my schedule is just in flux. Like I'm here, I don't know where I'm gonna be later. They say, who if he halatil musafir? That person's situation is like a person that's traveling. I'm uncertain. I don't know how long this, like I'm doing something, like say a person experiencing a lengthy deposition or something like that. And they get a break, but they can pray, and they don't know how long it's going to take. If it's going, time of Asr is going to go. But I don't. Some people would argue that person is in the state of a traveler. You see the basis of the ruling? Me, I think I'm a little uncomfortable with that, right? I'm a little uncomfortable with that. And it's mostly just because in some ways, my leanings are just more conservative. Me personally, as Ubaydullah Evans, but I understand the basis of that rule that the person told you. I understand its basis. Me, I probably wouldn't be comfortable with that. However, sometimes when I'm traveling, I travel a lot. I'm always thinking, what really is my township? Because in my school, a person can shorten their prayers when they are embarking on a journey of 40 miles. They can shorten their prayers as soon as they get out of their village. Right? That's like the position of my school. So I always say, what is my village? Chicago or Bronzeville? Because to them, a village really would be more like the area Hyde Park is a village. Right? Garfield Park is a village. Right? Albany Park is a village. Chicago, to them, that would be a country. Something as big as Chicago, that's not no village. Chicago is, I think sometimes we forget that Chicago is one of the largest cities in the world. Like, it's easy for us to forget that. Like, even, now look, I'm about to mix y'all all the time. I'm about to mess y'all all the way up. Even when you think about prayer times, so when we're fasting, if people just look at the schedule, I'm thinking, this is Chicago. You really think the time of Maghrib is the same in California on 127th Street as on Devon Street? Impossible. Chicago is too big. But we have the same prayer schedule whether I'm on Devon, 127th, and I just, trying to break my fast. Right? This is why it's best to get in the habit, use the schedule. I am not saying don't use the schedule. But for Maghrib, go outside and look too. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all Central Time.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at that, they make them up real time. We make them up real maybe 35.
Yeah.
Wow.
Same time zone. It's kind of like, man, you can be just moving through Chicago. I'm sure you have differences in time. So even when you think about being a traveler, a person that lives in one part of, there are some places I go where I'm technically, like, for me to go from my house to say like Naperville, depending how far I go in Naperville, in the Maliki Madhab, I'm a traveler. But to go from my house to Milwaukee clearly. But like, so There is some flexibility there, but I would say try your best to the best of your ability. If you're not far away from home, to just kind of have your schedule down. Like I'm gonna pray Maghrib at this time, I'm gonna pray Isha at this time. But if you decide to use that ruling, I am aware of its basis. You know, traveling is not about hardship, right? I mean, our travel actually provides us with more ease than the living situation of the people of the past. Like when we're in first class, we're traveling, you know, being served foods and eating ice cream. It's not about hardship. It's about uncertainty. When I'm traveling, I don't know. You know, I don't know, which is one of the reasons that I think in all of the Madhahib, want some more proof, a person cannot shorten or join their prayers in their hometown, even if they don't live there anymore. You see? Even if I move to Los Angeles, I cannot shorten or join my prayers when I'm visiting Chicago. Why? Because I know Chicago. I'm supposed to know Chicago. I know Chicago. I don't need that provision of a traveler because I know where the mosques are. I know where the safe places to pray are. I know where the places I can make wudu are. I know how long it takes to get from my house to the restaurant. I know because I'm from here. When I go to Indianapolis, I don't know. So now the time of Dhuhr is in. I look at my itinerary. I don't know if I'm gonna get another opportunity to make Asr. That's why I can join them in the Maliki. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how long this is gonna take. I don't know how long it's gonna take. Which is one of the reasons that you can't do anything for Fajr. Because the morning is perceived as a time when pretty standard, across the board. Whether you hear there, it's dawn, it's the morning time. That's usually before you move. It's Fajr. Boston, New York, LA, Houston, it's Fajr. But once I get to Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, I really, and as somebody who travels, I've experienced the benefit of that ruling because I've experienced the uncertainty. It's like, I'm praying now, I don't know. I really don't know when the next time I'm gonna be able to pray is. We on the move right now. So Allah gives us that mercy. Some people say a person running errands is in a situation, they have a similar provision. I'd be uncomfortable with it, but it is there. It is something that's written. It's not, nobody like made this up when they told you. It is something there. It's almost like, and I've been thinking about this. Sonny is pulling me into my nerd bag, man. You know, I've been thinking about how our norms impact the level that we will be comfortable doing things that are even from the Sunnah. So we know if the Prophet ﷺ was praying Dhuhr and it was raining, because it didn't rain very often in Arabia, he would just pray the Asr right behind the Dhuhr. So people wouldn't have to come back out in the rain, right? I was in Oakland one time. We prayed Jummah. I swear, man, to call this rain, it was like dew. So I don't even know what it was. I mean, I'm from the Midwest. It rains a lot. So for me, rain is rain, right? And even if it was like a light rain, we would still expect to make Asr on time. We're Midwesterners. It's just, that's not who we are. The Imam of the Masjid, who I regard as very knowledgeable, said, brothers, due to the rain, we're going to go ahead and pray Asr. I walked outside and said, y'all call this rain? When I was a guest in the community, I made my Asr. So my point is, there is a part of our religion that does empower the individual to make those choices. If you really feel like I'm in a situation right now, my schedule is just completely, I'm not 40 miles from home, but I'm away from my norm, right? I'm away from my norm. I'm away from my schedule. I'm away from what is regular to me, as if I were traveling. And I also want to, join and combine my prayers. That's something that is there for us. If that makes sense. What's that? You know, it's interesting, with fasting, the ruling also, the ruling of traveling, the person that's traveling doesn't have to fast. However, with traveling, you have to be in the state of being a traveler when fasting begins. See, a lot of people miss that part. You can't, like, it's 10 a.m. and now I'm traveling. You have to be in that place at the time of Fajr. When Fajr comes in, you have to be a traveler. If you, any day that you begin fasting, you have to end fasting. You see, even if you travel 1,000 miles, if I begin the day at Fajr, I'm at home, and then I start traveling, I cannot break my fast until Maghrib, wherever I am. So if I'm traveling from California to New York, but if I'm in New York at the time of Fajr, I can decide not to fast for that same reason. I don't even know how I'll be able to get iftar. I mean, look, man, I've been crazy, you know, Ramadan, I'm traveling around like crazy. And so one year I just decided, I don't care where I travel, I'm fast. I'm not missing a day of Ramadan. I don't want any makeup days. I want to get all the blessings in Ramadan. Man, one time I was in Orlando, it was just remote. I didn't know. Man, I walked. I just started, I wanted to eat suhoor. I look at my phone, prayer times, Orlando. I just started walking. Man, I walked for miles. I'm within like 10 minutes of Fajr coming in. I finally see a Waffle House. I run to the Waffle House, quickly, make me eggs with biscuits now. She like, oh, what is this a stick up? It's not a stick up. I'm a Muslim, I'm fasting. I got 3 minutes to eat this food. Okay, baby, here you go. Here. You know, as I was eating this food, like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? As I was eating this food, I was thinking, this is what the ruling of not fasting when you're traveling is for, so that I wouldn't have to do that. I wanted to do that. I wanted to do that. Allah is merciful so that I could have decided, I'm already traveling. I'm not gonna put, I don't know where food is, if I can get the food. I'm just not gonna fast today. But because I wanted to fast, I had to go in and stick up Waffle House for 2 egg biscuits. You know what I mean? Egg biscuits, no. Man, we got 4 minutes, man. We got to get this done now. Let's go. Let's move this thing along here. You know, she looking at you crazy. And I got my toothbrush and my toothpaste in my hand. You know what I mean? Cool. I got to eat and brush my teeth. And I got 4 minutes. Let's go. We got to move, baby. We got to move. That's about the first time I've ever been stuck up for egg biscuit. And working at Waffle House, I've been hit a few times. You know, so if you're traveling, you don't have to fast if you're traveling. The important part of the ruling is how long you have to stay in a place before you're considered a resident of the place. That's the tricky part of the ruling. That's the tricky part of the ruling. So for some people, they say 20 prayers. So 4 days. 4 days. If you're gonna be somewhere, for more than 4 days, that's long enough for you to kind of figure things out. The Shafi'is, they say 2 weeks. I mean, they say 14 days. The person have to be, if you're somewhere for 4, that should be long enough to figure things out. Now, I shouldn't be telling y'all this, but I should.
I'm not Christian either.
But here's the thing that the mercy in the Sharia. If a person is there but uncertain of his stay, uncertain of her stay. So if a person says, you know, when are you going to leave? I don't know. That's actually just one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. If a person says, you say, when are you leaving? I don't know. It's not like after 4 days, then you're a resident. It can just go on. I could be leaving any day. Well, I could be leaving, I don't know, when you gonna leave? Tuesday, maybe not Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. But at no point that I plan on being there 4 days. I just been there 20 years. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I think, that's in his heart. He needs to do some work in his heart to see what's going on with what's going on with you, brother. But yeah, that's really, I think, the most interesting part of that ruling is how long do you have to stay in a place before the Sharia considers you should be able to figure this out. Now, in your case, I see, because my daughter is so fancy, is going to Paris in Ramadan with her aunt. You'll be moving around different places, going from London to Paris to Brussels. So each place, you'll still have that 4 day. So you should be able to, not fast. Inshallah. 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 So other questions, ideas?
Question for the couple days.
Okay.
So, let's say, put in the contract, that sort of can't take a second place.
They're binding.
Yeah.
No. Now, this is the thing. المسلمون عند شروطهم, the Muslims are bound by their conditions. إلا شرطا يحرم الحلال. Yeah, إلا شرطا يحرم الحلال. Except for a condition that makes something permissible impermissible. So if a man puts in a contract, I will never take a second wife, he does not have to abide by that condition. However, if he breaks his condition, he should offer her a divorce without condition, with full provision, with a severance gift. He broke his condition, and he's bound to honor her request for a divorce. And it should be a divorce that he does not contest. She says, if you do this, I want a divorce. He should honor that immediately. And if he's in some legal schools, it's an obligation, but certainly in his manner, if he's an honorable man, he will recognize I'm doing something that I said I wouldn't do. So, in addition to easing this transition for you, I even want to do something special on top of it, because I'm doing something I said I would. But there cannot be a condition that makes something allowed. You see what I'm saying? So he doesn't, so most scholars I know, they say he doesn't have to live by the condition. But if he does break his condition, then he should be prepared to take care of that woman because he broke the condition that he agreed to. Yeah. Other ideas? Yes, sir.
So my question is, like, sometimes you hear people like scientists and whatnot, that would behavior that we have to leave out because of early human ancestors engaging like hunter gathering.
Yeah.
So like, what's the assumption?
You
Do you even believe in the idea?
know what's interesting, man? We don't believe in the myth of the caveman. We do believe in, if you're marking the evolution of human civilization by crafts, technologies, types of communal assembly like hunter-gatherers, all of that can be true. We don't believe that kind of human assembly, that kind of tool making, those kinds of crafts are indicative of other kinds of, I guess that was a lack of complexity. See, the Western European mind is very interesting. We can go, and I think all of us have Western European minds. We can go from a kind of an understanding of their civilizational simplicity, like they were hunter-gatherers. Compare that with our people that live in large cities. And we automatically assume not that in this respect we have evolved. We think as human beings, in our intellects, in our sophistication, in our kind of like in our humanity, we have evolved. We don't accept that. One of the reasons we don't accept that is the complexity of language. God mentions that he taught Adam the words. And it's proven that people that we would consider primitive, although many of them did not have systems of writing, we know now just even through hieroglyphs and pictures, they had very complex systems of thought and language, right? So we can accept one part of, I guess, a human evolution, we talk civilizational evolution, without accepting, I think, the necessary part of that. So when you see like the Cro-Magnon and you see other kinds of pre-Homo sapien, creatures depicted on film, we would accept that maybe all of that perhaps preceded Adam, alayhi salam, that these were things that God created before he created Adam. But we believe that Adam enters history as a language-using creature. We don't believe that Adam entered history going, That's not our, you know what I'm saying? That's not like that, no. Allah taught Adam words, intellection, speech. So we believe our ancestors, which is not to say there are not humanoid ancestors that predate Adam. But in that way, that's the way that we can reconcile with some micro evolutionary thought. There could be humanoid life forms that predated Adam, for sure, right? But we do believe that Adam comes into history as a language using creature, right?
The angel saying when Adam was created that he would shed blood. Does that
Because of those other humanoid creatures. One modern tafsir is that when the angel said to Allah, "Are you creating one that will shed blood and cause mischief?" It was because they saw other humanoid creatures displaying violence and making mischief. Do you see what I'm saying? So we don't doubt that that's possible, but we don't say that from Adam there was a beginning and like ooga booga, ooga booga, ooga booga, and then there's like more. No. Adam is a language using. This is a very important part of our Quranic worldview. Adam is allamahul bayan. No, wow. Allamahul bayan. Adam is a language using creature. You see what I'm saying? Other ideas. We got about 5 minutes. Should I say?
I have a question.
What's that?
I sound like I'm gonna have a question.
Alaikum salam, Sister Ndidi.
Hey, so this is more this isn't philosophical. This is more
Okay.
so like I'm having like what do you call like a brain gap or whatever the case is, and so like I wanted you if you could remind us like when like let's say you miss a certain aspect in your salat, like let's say you skip you get up from Jalsa and you forget to do the I'm saying like if you jump into qiyam and you forget to do that in Jalsa, like how do you what's the I know it may vary, but
it varies from school to school, and I will say I love my madhab. But the Malikis probably got the most complicated understanding of this issue of sahu and mistakes in the prayer.
Mhm.
It's like it's a whole. In our school, it's a whole thing. Sometimes I teach people, say, I'm gonna teach you from another school, not my school. In our school, it's a whole thing in terms of, do you make the extra, so if I were to break it down in my school, it would be, okay, couple key points. If you omit something, meaning you forget to do something, you do what it is you forgot to do when you remember. The first principle. Right? So if you forgot to put a sitting, like you say you're in the second rakat of dhuhr, and you stand straight up, and you remember that you forgot to sit down in the third rakat, you would sit down. Right? You would add what you forgot. Okay? And then at the end of the prayer, you would make a qabli. You would make 2 extra prostrations before making the salat. Right? On the other hand, if you are guilty of commission, meaning you put something in the prayer that wasn't supposed to go in the prayer, right? You would make a ba'di, you say assalamu alaikum, and then you would make 2 extra, and then assalamu alaikum again. So for omission is before, for commission is after.
After. So I know that about the Maliki school actually, but my question is like, when do you make the extra? Like
You
when?
put it, and again, the one I'm most familiar in the Maliki school, you put it in when you remember it. So whatever you forgot, you put it in when you remember it. So if you forgot to recite, say you're in the third rakat and you realize, man, I omitted reciting a surah after Fatiha in the second rakat. You would recite that surah in the third rakat, and then you would make 2 extra prostrations before the salam.
What if you're already about to salam out and you remember the Al-Fatiha, that you forgot the Al-Fatiha?
Then you say the Al-Fatiha right there before you salam out.
Okay,
And then you make the 2 extra prostrations and then you salam out.
Okay, and then what? So I took a fiqh of Salah class, so I knew this about the Maliki one. And I actually just used that one because the masjid that one of the masjids I go to, they did it that way as well. So even though I don't necessarily, I'm not like decidedly Maliki or what have you.
Yeah, but
Alhamdulillah, good stuff is good stuff. But my point is just that my question, hold on, when you salam out. So what if you're leading the salah? Like in a case where someone is leading salah, how do they?
Same thing. Whenever we're praying, is always follow the leader. So if the leader forgets something in the prayer, if he or she makes an extra 2 prostrations, we make the extra prostration along with them. It's always right. So even if it's not a matter where if you're like, I didn't forget nothing in my prayer. I ain't making 2 extra sajdas. You forgot to know. If the imam makes 2 extra sajdas, then you make it 2 extra sajdas. Right? The imam is to be followed.
So if the imam forgets rakat or something like that, he skips, and then he jumps right back to it. Then everybody in the group is just jumping right back to it.
Well, this is the thing. Again, in our madhab, it's kind of complicated. If the imam makes an extra rakat, say he's on his way up. If he gets all the way to the standing position, he should pray a full rakat. He shouldn't get up and then go back down. He's just okay. You already forgot. Just going through it. Make a extra bowing, extra i'tidal, extra 2 prostrations, and then after you do that, you make the salam. Then you make 2 extra prostrations. I'm have to give you it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But I think in the other madhahib, in the Hanafi school, Shafi'i school, Hanbali/Salafi minhaj, I think it's much more simple. I think if you forget something, you just add 2 extra prostrations at the end after the salam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, like that. MashaAllah. What does it do?
Thank you.
I think the promise is for that. Well, you know, whenever I hear a voice like that proclaiming God's glory, I say, you know, my voice ain't so bad, man. Yeah, you know, like, as much as I know, my voice is just so scratchy, it's so horrible. But if a voice like that is proclaiming God's glory, then I can't.
Assalamualaikum, everyone.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. واصل بالصبر سبحان ربك وبالعزة عما يصفون. سلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. إن شاء الله.